Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options Play video update. We have only 3 sessions of earnings this week coming up because of the Thanksgiving holiday on Thursday, and there's nothing scheduled on Friday. But within those 3 days, there's actually a lot going on. Monday before the open, it does start a little bit slower. Only Bazoon is scheduled. Well, only the only interesting name scheduled to report. It's pricing in about 6.25. Chinese tech name. Those are monthly options actually. And occasionally there have been some bigger moves. If I go back further, you can see that there's some gaps around earnings. But it's definitely been a mixed quarter of action for the Chinese tech companies. I feel like it would have been nicer to see them report this past week because you have November 20th options and don't have to pay for all that extra time. Right? Because now we have to go out through December because they don't have any weekly options available for this one. So you got to pay for all that extra time premium. So definitely a little bit tougher from a pricing perspective, but maybe worth a look. Not a bad setup overall. After the close on Monday, Umbrella. So kind of a name from the past. I haven't traded it too much recently. They're priced in at 7 points. The last 2 quarters ran very hard into earnings and then sold off sharply. Ran very hard into earnings and sold off sharply. So I feel like 2 quarters in a row runs into earnings, then dumps after. Does it make it 3 in a row? I haven't traded this name in a while, but there have been 15-20% moves on occasion on earnings. So option pricing isn't too out of whack if you get one of those. But me personally, I think I'll probably avoid Nutanix. So 4 points is what's expected here. This has actually been a pretty good trading name for us recently. They reported numbers early, like a day early last quarter, and you had this huge spike. Ended up retracing all of it, but now it's come back up again. And I don't think they're going to leak or a number. I don't think they report numbers early this quarter, but the actual report does seem interesting to me because the numbers have been improving and it's working on a rebound. And obviously, above 30, you can see there's a very well defined gap from the February earnings report. So, definitely more speculative, but I might look at something out of the money on the bull side just in case they beat, just because such an obvious gap and it seems like there's a little bit of fundamental momentum and could be like a nice pop and move into like the low to mid 30s. For the open on Tuesday, a big retail morning. But first things first, ADI tech name, 5.5 points is what's priced in. Semis, they've they've been okay. Some really had great quarters and moved well, like Qualcomm, but there were a lot of other ones that really haven't done a whole lot, like Nvidia or even like an AMD. So I, this one is maybe a little bit more extended and up a little bit too much for me to try an earnings trade. Um, but Texas Instruments tends to react to this, or vice versa, right? When Texas Instruments reports, ADI moves, and when ADI reports, Texas Instrument might move. So I don't know if there's going to be a huge move one way or the other because they're still in the process of closing the Maxim deal. But if I did do something, I might look at Texas Instruments as like a sympathy play. All right, into retail now. So Best Buy, about 8.5 points is what's priced in here. There have been a lot of retailers that have just crushed estimates this quarter, but the stocks in general have not been acting great. Only a couple that have really been rewarded. Big question mark I see is that stock that's just right at its 52-week high, coming off like a quarter where they demolished it. I feel like expectations might be a little bit elevated here. And it's kind of hard to figure out if that means that it's going to follow like the same fate as like Walmart and Home Depot with both, both had like great runs, both crushed it and then both got sold off, right? So I feel like this might actually present like a better swing trade scenario if it doesn't have a huge move on earnings and the numbers are actually really good because it seems to be in a well-defined trend and it could continue higher. Nice little technical setup here, but in terms of earnings trades, I'm kind of on the fence with it. Dix, so 525 is what's priced in. Expectations were already pretty high after the last couple quarters, but Hibbett's blowout and like the move higher in Dix today, I think raises the bar even further. It's the stock has had some big moves in the past on earnings, but I don't know. I just don't know if there's like a ton of room to surprise here because expectations are high. Hibbett just crushed it, so expectations have moved up again. I mean, I do think I would be bullish biased, but I just don't know option wise or pricing wise, like if it leaves any room there. Dollar Tree. So this actually one. This seems more interesting to me than some of the other ones. They're pricing in 7 points. It still lags pure Dollar General substantially. It's under 100 again. You can see how significant 100 is, right? Because there's a huge gap above. I do wish the pricing was a little bit lower, but I think if I can get risk down, that it still could be a decent volatility strategy candidate because there have been a lot of quarters actually over the last 2 to 3 years where it's had some very, very, very big moves. So this one seems interesting to me. Also, I mean, I'm not going to talk about it, but you also have Abercrombie reports Tuesday morning, Chico's, Burlington, Guess. So you can see just a very busy morning for retail on Tuesday. After the close on Tuesday, Autodesk. So 16.5 points is what's priced in. Definitely a top software name. It's been a little bit quieter recently. They already guided preliminary results, so that makes it an avoid for me. I do think it sets up pretty well, though, for possible breakout slash swing trade if it can continue to hold above 250. So I might take a look after the numbers come out, see what the option prices look like, see what the stock is. VMW, another software name. 8.5 points is what's priced in on this. Definitely a name that's been out of play for a while. And I don't know what's going to change that. I guess I'd almost prefer to wait and see if it either gets above 160 or below 125, 130 because it hasn't really done a whole lot. It's been in this channel for a while, and I mean it's not one of those names where I feel like people really chase. So I'd almost rather wait for a confirmed breakout or breakdown, and then once there's actual signs of participation, then maybe jump on board. Pure Storage, so kind of an interesting tech name here. They're pricing in 275. Those are monthly options, though. Micron, memory name, it's gone crazy over the past couple weeks. Pure Storage is a smaller play on the memory sector. I do think that there's a lot of room to move higher if we can get through 20 with like good volume on a good number. To me, it seems maybe more like the speculative camp, but with the December options, the only ones available, I feel like some strategy that I do or whatever strategy I may end up doing would probably need to get the risk down because the pricing, you got to pay for all that extra time in this case, and that makes the option price a little bit higher. Gap. So 225 is what's priced in on this now. It has obviously been a very impressive rebound story. I mean, the stock is up, 300% since the low from March. I don't trade it too often, and they gave some guidance in October, so that makes it most likely an avoid for me. But it is a pretty well-defined trend, and I feel like it could be kind of an under-the-radar swing name into the holidays if the numbers are good, doesn't move much, and the option pricing comes down. So I might actually keep an eye on this one. Nordstrom, 2.5 points is what's priced in for earnings. Now you can see what it's done over the last 2 weeks, and that's why, to me, I feel like it still could be a pretty big mover because it's had a huge run, but also has huge short interest, almost like 50%, I believe. It didn't really react a lot to Macy's or Kohl's for that matter, and I feel like those numbers were mixed. And if Nordstrom has a particularly bad or particularly good quarter, I feel like it could still move quite a bit, and that's why it's interesting to me. And I might look at like a volatility strategy on that one. And then last but not least, Wednesday before the open is Deere. So a big industrial report, priced it in 12 points. It's had a couple strong quarters in a row, right at its 52-week high. Stock looks incredibly strong, but I mean, I just question how high expectations are going into earnings after the move it's had, after the last couple quarters it's had. I'd definitely be bullish biased, but I think they'd have to absolutely crush it by a mile to really rip. So this one to me seems more of like a trending stock trade type pattern where longer dated options or even some sort of like calendar spread strategy might work. And that's it. Nothing scheduled Wednesday afternoon. Thursday is obviously Thanksgiving. The markets are closed. And then Friday morning, there's nothing scheduled. So Wednesday is the last day for earnings. Um, but within those 3 days, you can see there's a lot going on, right? So I expect it to be a busy week, a short week. Definitely one of those weeks where in the past there's been some like good action, good trading action the week of Thanksgiving. So I'm looking forward to it. All right. Um, so if you are traveling, hope you have a safe trip. Stay well. Definitely an unusual year, but Thanksgiving is still Thanksgiving. So looking forward to it. Looking forward to celebrating. Hope everybody has a wonderful holiday. Hope you all have a wonderful weekend. And I will talk to you all next week. Take care.